Getting back to the stream after a week off. Had some family time last week, so that was nice. I think today feels like a good day to work on some of the finance web that I've been slowly working on. It's called finatr. And oh, this might be what I was looking to fix. Yes. So I noticed I merged this in the other week, and apparently it was broken and I didn't even realize it. Yeah, so the tests were somehow passing, but it was still broke. So we're gonna see if we can fix that today. Maybe we'll do a little bit more. We shall see. Okay, so it's happening everywhere. And draw a bar. And an icicle chart. Alright, so let's I started looking at this before, and I was unable to reproduce it. So I'm imagining it was something with my cache was fine, but it was not working in the build, or at least in the dev server it was fine. We do have a tar up, so that's why Rust Analyzer is starting up, I presume. So this has tar up. So this is pretty similar to how Electron might function, except it's got Rust components instead of some of the node dependencies. Kitty wanted to come say hi. All right. So I'm curious why the test didn't catch it. So we've got two sets of tests here. We've got Jest, and we've got some Cypress tests. The Jest tests are mostly like functional kind of tests. And I think I gotta turn this music down just a little bit. I think we're actually gonna change the. Got Spotify on the other side here. We're gonna switch to some spooky synthwave. I'm still feeling the Halloween vibes. All right. So we've got Jest and Cypress running. Jest is mostly for the testing like unit test type tests. And I imagine those probably don't have or shouldn't have an issue here. But I'd expect Cypress to run into this issue. So I think we're going to open that up first and see if we can reproduce it in Cypress and see why it was not caught in CI. Yeah. These tests don't run terribly fast either, unfortunately. Okay, I think some of this too is the streaming, but I don't feel like it should have that big of an effect on it. Looking at my couple of skip frames, interesting. Wonder if that's from the tests. Okay, so we need to do When we're running Cypress, we also need to start up the server too. We're gonna do nr start and nr site. Wait for that to open. Might take a little bit. I might not have opened this version before on this computer. We'll find out. Not too bad. Oh, they've got an update to 9.0. Interesting. So we do have a dependency thing on the repo that is helping us out as far as upgrades go. It must just be holding that one back because we have a bunch of other things in flight. I'm imagining these probably aren't an issue, but I'm guessing that's why it's holding this one back. I think we're just gonna run all of them and we'll see. We'll see what happens. So for the most part, the Cypress tests are testing the forms that we've got on here. Okay, so we are hitting the errors. Curious that we didn't see this come up. Very curious. Let's check the yeah, I mean, we've got all green shirts everywhere. Tests. I wonder if it was one of these merges. So like something in here. I'm imagining it has to do with this stuff here, which might mean that we actually want to run the tests on, because right now we've got tests that run only on pull request. We probably want to change them to also run on the main branch. Yeah. I think that probably is a good move here. So our main branch here is called next. Partly because in Netlify then we can have that as a subdomain. So this is going to be running off of that main branch, which is pretty handy. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fix the test, but what we're going to do is we're going to say check out a new branch, and we're going to, the first thing we're going to do is show that the tests are failing. What should we call it? Run tests on next. I mean, I guess that's probably fine. So we want to do it on pull request, and we want to do it on push to branch next. Copy that whole chunk. Yeah, I mean, even our names are kind of odd. I think we probably switched this to say unit tests on PR, well, just unit tests, and this is end-to-end tests. So let's go ahead and push that up. We should see some test failures, and then we'll start debugging that right away. Git commit run tests on push to next branch. Assign all my commits, and I prefer to just type my password in rather than saving it on my computer. Okay. Curious that it didn't ask me to open it up. Why can't I open up a PR? Oh, ha 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 ha. I'm not sent in. Yeah, I guess we can do that on here. I'm gonna just do that on the side though. I don't know if you can hear, but my kitty is talking to me. Hi. Yes, come on. Don't let her sit on the desk. She's not terribly fond of that, but that is what it is. Okay. That's what I'm expecting to see. Okay. So we want to run the tests on merge to the main branch. This might fetch errors that don't show up. The PR happens to not be in sync with the main branch before being merged. So I'm imagining that this is going to throw some errors. I hope it's going to throw some errors. I guess it's probably the better thing to say. Because we do want to see this actually fail in the same way. Okay, so we are getting this issue. I'm going to close Cypress for right now. Don't particularly... I mean, I guess I'm fine with that. Because it's happening everywhere. It doesn't happen. Excuse me. A little bit of a cough going. Hopefully I'll be able to catch that mute every time. So it's happening in anywhere that D3 is showing up. So let's why not have All right. If that line number is to be believed, yeah, see, that's kind of weird. 19. I mean, in the icicle chart, yeah, that makes sense. What's the? Okay, so it is actually matching up. That's nice. It's probably some more parcel magic there. So it's having trouble selecting that. Interesting. So if we go to the cash flow, it's a different error, I believe. Interesting. Now, why would that start throwing errors? So the graphs on here are written in D3.js. And it is on... Oh, we've got all the sub packages, which I think is 5. Version 5, that is. Nothing yet. The street cleaner going here, souping up those all the leaves that we've been dropping. Okay. So where to start? I don't know why this would start becoming an issue. That's what's sort of surprising to me. And it's pretty early on in this. Clubs. Are we getting any elements? You need to enable JavaScript. Oh, no, it should be. So it's... that's gonna be frustrating. It's just like completely breaking. I wonder what... All right, we are going to... like I'm confused why. I'm pretty certain I was working before. I'm confused why upgrading parcel would do this. Current wanted latest. It's rapid funny. I mean, I don't think parcel would. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. Let's upgrade parcel just in case. I think this works with. So this is npm version 8. 8 now. Yep. You can see it in my terminal prompt right there. Node 16 version 8 of npm. And we have a dependency on parcel. I think I might actually change that once this is done. I don't want it to actually say RC anymore. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna run it again. I don't want to. I mean, I don't think we can accidentally do it anymore, but I don't want to accidentally grab a RC version. Okay, let's try that. Like, that's breaking at such a early part of D3 that I wonder if there's some import thing going on. So I'm running it in lazy mode right now. It will dynamically build pages as you visit them. So that's what it's doing. It ran and started up, and now I hit refresh on the page and it's dynamically building it. Hey, there we go. Okay, so the parcel upgrade actually broke it. Fun. Fun, fun. Now, did we actually see these in... What? Interesting. That is very interesting. So in CI, how are we running it? Gotta expect the Cypress test to catch this. I mean, we've technically got Edge and Firefox in here, but they're for the most part just skipping because we had issues. They probably fixed them by now because this was a while ago, 2 years apparently. But for another time. So we're doing npm start. Guessing that's running from a cold cache. Why would that not be throwing in an error? Interesting. I mean, even if I go to the deploy preview, it still is broken. Which is curious. I mean, I could do a build and serve. Let's look at their GitHub action real quick. Probably makes sense in CI to run it off of the build assets rather than the dev server. With browser, headless. Artifacts, config. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Component tests. That is still a new thing? I haven't actually tried that yet. I'm curious. I am curious. Okay, so wait on. Custom build ID. I thought there was a build. That's what I'm looking for. Does parcel have a serve? Because we could do a parcel serve. Parcel serve if it's got something like that. I think it does. Parcel watch. And supports hollow reloading. Okay, so we are running parcel serve right now, which is the dev server. Gotcha. Oh, it's got an auto uninstall or auto install. I didn't know that. Host cert key. Oh, you can set up HTTPS. That's kind of nice. I don't think that's anything that we want there. I mean, that's all fine. So I just don't understand why it's not catching that. I mean, maybe it's fine just running with start, but let's look at the Netlify build. That's what I want to do. I want to log in. Oh, yeah, log in. Interesting. Not like me today. Trying to log in, and it is not. It's saying that I have an account already. Yes, I know. That's why I'm clicking login. Oh, yep. Yep. I forgot I signed up with the email. I wish I didn't sync that stuff. No, so I was clicking the login with GitHub, and even though I had my GitHub connected, it wasn't actually letting me log in. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Yeah, sure. All right. Let's look at our build log here. Two comments. Can I see it in here? Oh, I got you. Good tune. It is. Night Call by Kavinsky? Dig it. All right. Build and I find our build is pretty big. We definitely need to address that. I'm probably gonna look at that pretty soon. I don't know why it's not breaking it. This might be one of those things that we punt on and deal with it in the future if it ever ends up coming up again. Yeah, we'll commit the upgrade, parcel 2.2.1. So that actually fixed that issue. I think we can probably merge in a bunch of these other ones too. They're pretty little ones. So I'm using this thing called depfoo, and I don't understand why it does this. So there's 8.3.11 and an 8.3.9. What is Babel? All right, so I think that deals with that issue. Do we have time to work on anything else? So we've got a couple examples here. I need to work on the homepage a little bit. What do we got in this next version that's coming up? So we did the planning and we did an upgrade to parcel. I'll probably pull in all those other little upgrades. We should probably talk about the homepage stuff. I want to flesh this out. And we might end up just doing a little bit of writing for the rest of the time. Got it. All right. We'll let this run. Got an Obsidian node already? Yes, I do. I don't know if I need any of this really. I feel like I had more in here, but whatever. We're gonna grab this. I don't want that actually as a subtitle anymore. That was sort of just, I don't know, lazy is the right word, but I was just trying to get this update out. We had switched from Theme UI into Tailwind just because Theme UI was giving us issues and it didn't see the support that I was hoping they would get. And I wanted something because I'm not, design isn't really my thing, and the time that I can spend on this I think is better spent rather than writing custom CSS to work on some of the features. So this hopefully will get me further faster. All right, so we kind of need like a tagline. We'll sort of plan this out as far as like sections of the site go, I think. So what's the, okay. I kind of like that tagline. Helping you analyze your future. I'm tempted to just say that. So as far as like marketing pages go, I feel like I started doing some research on this, but I think I'm just gonna Google it for now. Like I think I have a couple of them saved. There's probably like 3 or 4 sections that make sense. And we'll want something like that, like get started. Yeah, all these are just very oh, they have updated things quite a bit here, haven't they? So we kind of want, we'll sort of have like this top area, which is going to be this. And then we sort of want what does kind of like the lowercase. I don't know that I've specifically held to standard, but I think we do something like this, and then we say this is probably the why not. Almost do like a like why would you use this over something else? And I guess I could just say that why. I don't know if I don't dislike this either. I just think it speaks to a specific type of person. And I think that type of person will see this and go, yeah, okay, fine. But so by scrolling down, they'll end up having this answered for them. but this is going to speak to more people up front, I think. So I think we're going to say something like, we begin the focus on planning your expenses versus your income. So the idea is that we want, got this like planning. This is going to kind of give you a good idea of like, what is your income versus your expenses. So like this is effectively the gap. So this based on what we have, based on the transactions that we've listed and filled in, how much do we still have to work with, assuming in like net zero? And I mean, you're not always going to be, oh, hey Manny, Josiah, glad to have you. Does this look slightly familiar? Hope you're having a good day, good Friday. The weekend is upon us. Yeah, during a stream the other week, I was like, you were talking about the icicle chart. I'm like, you are speaking my language. I had it in here already, and it was just a parcel upgrade broke it, and none of the tests apparently catch it. There we go. Oh, it's very crazy. I still intend to right, yeah. That one meme. I do definitely still intend to chat. It's been a week though. Sick kids, I tell you, they drain you and get you sick too, which is where the cough I think came from. So I think this is good. Oh, let's do. I forgot to add. Guess we make it a separate. Come on. Anytime I open a Markdown file, VS Code takes a half second to load the Markdown parser, which is sort of annoying. And I can't type. Nope, it's actually a separate vault. I have them saved. I started using Obsidian Sync. And that works pretty good. I had been using Google Drive, and it's actually still backed up in Google Drive. But I intend to like copy and paste this basically into the site. And with Google Drive, I was syncing it from my computer to my phone. But for work, I also got a Mac, and the Google Drive story there was starting to get complicated. So it made sense to do this Obsidian sync. Especially with the Obsidian mobile app, that it's pretty handy. I'm not the best of note takers, but I need to write things down for me to keep track of it. if it's not something that they have. I've done some interesting things, actually a couple streams ago, some interesting things with to help track my tasks a little bit more. This is Obsidian Data View, and this is Obsidian Charts. So I'm slowly getting into it more and more, and I'm kind of intending to do I'm kind of intending to start doing the daily notes. I think that'll help me out a little bit too. Because I have trouble with doing I guess celebrating wins is probably the way I'd describe it. Rely on Notion. Yeah, Notion's good too. We actually use Notion for work. And the databases in Notion are nice. But I like the markdown and the local things from Obsidian. And the plugin system, I think, is much adds much more power to it that I appreciate. And I actually have this drafts folder actually syncs to my website. And I don't think that's something I could really do with Notion, at least not in the past. They've started adding APIs, so maybe it would be potentially possible now. But in the past, it was just straight up not possible. So I've actually got all of these get pulled into my website, which is pretty handy. Yes, I definitely appreciate the hackable nature of it. So I'm not taking notes for the sake of notes. I'm taking notes to help me remember things and keep track of things. And I specifically wanted to have it hooked up to my site so I could reduce the friction to actually getting written work out there. So I have trouble. I have trouble just like sitting down and writing. It's not like I have trouble just getting things going. But if I take little notes and as I'm working, I have an easier time evolving things. So if I have a note started, it's easier to take it and evolve it into something that could be followed or read. So like this was something that I worked on setting up, and as I was working on it, well, that's interesting. Oh, that's not a typo. Okay. Have I done any user research or usability testing? Most of the let me take a drink. I was talking and I had it in my hand. Most of what I've done with it so far has been more this cash flow idea is, I would call let's go to one that works. This one. This cash flow thing I think is more of an advanced thing. And I think there's value in this. And I had actually made this for myself, and I've talked with a bunch of friends, and I have this in Excel, and it just has become difficult to manage. And I had been tracking my expenses for years, back to like high school. And I did that in Excel for a long time. Yeah, it's in Google Sheets now. I started it in Excel, and I've made some pretty wicked Excel sheets. and then I have since shifted it over into Google Sheets, and I was using it there, just purely this cash flow stuff, because we had also switched the tracking portion into YNAB. You need a budget. I know you talked about that on your stream a little bit, Manny. I don't feel that I would necessarily need to continue using YNAB myself. But my spouse, I don't think is quite to that point, and it serves as a very good way to have conversations. I think over the past few years, she's gotten a lot better, and we've definitely been less reliant on it. But I think it helps you like self-reflect and talk about things. And for that reason, I think we'll continue using it for the foreseeable future. But it doesn't have anything like this. Like it's all historical, and I want to be able to project forward, and the decisions that we're making now, I want to know how they're going to affect us in the future. And there's just nothing really out there. Everything is like, if you do this, using this like super general math, you can retire in 40 years. Which is fine. But like, I don't necessarily want to retire in 40 years. I want to have some flexibility. So yeah, you know, I want to be able to do a little bit more deeper planning, and have that be able to have something to have that conversation. Am I into the FIRE movement? I mean, we do reference it actually in here. I've read up a bunch about on it and listened to a whole ton of podcasts when I was commuting. So I know all about it. I don't know that I feel the need to like actually retire early. I like the what is the other? It's financial independence, retire early, but there's also there was another acronym for it too that I like better. And now it's lost me. That's gonna bother me now. I'll remember it. And message it to you. But it's basically like the goal of FIRE is at some level to retire early, but it's also to give you flexibility, and that's what I like. Right? It's like on the tip of my tongue. Oh boy. FIRE. It's financial independence. I thought there was another, instead of retire early, I thought there was something else. Not retire early, but something else with RE. Gosh, I haven't been up on the FIRE stuff lately, just because I haven't had a commute and I haven't been listening to the podcasts. But what's the big podcast? I don't even remember what they are now. Choose 5. POF has got some good stuff if you haven't tried any of their things. I don't know. But basically the idea is that, yeah, there's just like partial fire, or the ability to have enough money to walk into work and give them the middle finger. I think I'm in less of a situation myself right now that I would do that, but my spouse is probably more so in that position, and has recently switched to doing some more days off work, spend time with the kids more, which has been nice. So I think all of that wraps up into this too. So like we want to be able to, there's, I kind of feel like there's two aspects to it. There's the, you have transactions, and most of the apps out there are doing historical tracking. So you're trying to put together the numbers to tell you if your decisions in the past match up with what you had hoped to achieve, which is good. You know, it comes into that whole self-reflection thing. But also, how do you come to that budget? Like, they're just like, put in your budget numbers. Well, I mean, you can Google and you can find a rule of thumbs. You were talking about the housing is supposed to be like 40 or 50% of your income. But, you know, the people that give you those numbers, are they the ones incentivized to make that number bigger? Like, I don't feel like I need my house to take up that much of my income. I don't need a big house. That's not something that I'm striving for, and I don't live on the coasts where it's that as big of an issue. So like it comes down to the whole like guidelines, or the numbers that they throw out are just guidelines, and you need to figure out something for yourself. And how do you come to that? So I think this is, I had started splitting this off either earlier this year or last year, but I finally got around to just clicking the button. So there's still a little bit of cleaning up to do, but I think the idea of this is that we've got snapshots almost. Yeah. And actually, I feel like I keep going on different tangents, but as far as like suggestions go, I had it in the back of my mind, like, I wonder if there's regulations and whatnot behind suggestions. But yeah, it's definitely, I don't know that there's some level of like wanting to suggest stuff, but the idea is to be able to help people decide, like you're saying, like here, I need to do this, boop, like that's good, like that is what I want. Yeah. So I think the idea of this snapshot thing is you can start out kind of building up what might be a possible expenses versus income thing, and you can then start considering the aspect of time. Over time, this is going to change, so you can start like layering on snapshots. And as you start to layer on snapshots, then you start to get into this cash flow thing. And I think that's where somebody could start to shift more from this being a valuable tool to this being the more valuable tool for them. So the idea being that like you're probably going to end up having a lot of accounts, and keeping track of that is not easy. and it is helpful to automate things. Yeah. And actually the other thing that I forgot to mention about this too is I did some work to actually make this recursive, so you can, we were sort of talking about it on your stream last time, where like so this number right now says it's rent, electric, and water. You can build up and like, so you can start out and say, well, I'm just going to make my housing 50%, and we'll call it that. And then you can slowly refine those numbers. Like, and then you could do comparisons in the vein of like Git branching almost. So like the rent versus buy question is always something that comes up, especially as you start thinking more about money. You know, you're on your own. When do I buy a house? Like that question's going to come up. And they're like, yes, like there's no, everything out there is like, you can give a suggestion, but it's all so very much dependent on their situation. And being able to like have this block that's just housing and being able to like refine it and say like, housing in terms of rent is potentially a much simpler number to come to because it's dollars per month, a down payment, or you know, however your landlord works there, and then potentially insurance. It might be it that it actually goes into that. But when you buy a house, you've got your mortgage, you've got your property tax, which may or may not be included in your mortgage payment. You've got potentially association fees, and those association fees don't necessarily stay static. So depending on how well they manage it, you might end up getting surprise association bills. You've got repairs depending on how your house is and your property is owned. You've got insurance. There's a bunch of the just general maintenance and care. You know, so like all the cleaning supplies and light bulbs and like little fixtures, and you know, you move in and you probably want new drapes and shades and stuff like that, and those need to be replaced every so often. Painting, then there's the bigger repairs. So like that adds up, and that's very dependent on the house and where you live, and how much of that you can do yourself versus, you know, like some people can replace their own roof, some people can't. Time versus time value versus money kind of situation. What are your thoughts on accounting planning for variable expenses or income? I like this question, and I think there's the consultant in me says it depends. But I actually think that's a very good way to think about it. If you've ever done any freelancing or accounting, or freelancing or consulting, that tends to be potentially pretty variable income. A way to manage that, you kind of have your highs and lows. But what you can do is you can sort of figure a plan on a like dependable amount. And this actually comes to your you were talking about priorities. There's like the things that have to be paid, like you have to eat. And I mean, you can like reduce your bill a little bit, but you might say like, my normal monthly bill for food is $500. If I eat a bunch more ramen, maybe I can get that down to 200 or something, you know. So like there's the like base level minimum requirements for stuff. And then after that you can start saying, well, if I've got a little bit extra income, I might want to go out to eat a little bit more. So I think you can kind of do that with variable income a little bit, where you can say there's some level of income that I'm going to consider stable. And there is a little bit of privilege in that statement too. I think it's I mean, it's going to be hard regardless if it's your income's that variable that you have no level of stable income. So you might say that I can depend on $1,000 a month, and that goes then towards all of the very high priority necessities. And then that's how you sort of plan. You sort of plan in buckets. Like if I'm gonna like work my hardest, and I'm gonna at least expect that I can bring in $1,000, and that's gonna cover these expenses. And anything over that, then it starts to go into the other buckets that are less higher priority. I don't really know that you can. I mean, if your income's that variable and it can dip that dramatically, I guess something that I didn't mention with that was that, so if I'm expecting to have 1,000 every month, some of that money that you would make on those good months where you make over that could be rolled into a emergency savings account. So in those months where you do happen to not actually meet that $1,000 minimum that you set, you can pull from there. So the idea being that with an emergency fund, theoretically you can work yourself into a situation where you've got like a stable low level amount of income, and then everything above that is what you can start working with and making decisions with. Does that kind of answer your question? That's how I've always kind of thought about it. And I mean, you can. Actually, on your note on this, there's also so as somebody enters in their numbers, we don't necessarily need to make suggestions. It's not going to be like, you should do this because you're in this situation, where, I mean, that might be potentially helpful, but I think I think as they get into it, there's value in letting them represent the variability that can happen. So there's that question of like buy versus rent. So there's sort of the like dual dimensions. So like if I go this path, how is my life going to turn out? If I go this path, how is my life going to turn out, kind of thing. And within those paths, you can do all other branches as well. But within that, you're not necessarily being like, well, if I buy a house now, I'm going to be able to retire in 30 years. Because the amount of money that you make, or make on like a W-2 salary, or the money that you make from interests in your investments or whatnot, that's going to be variable too. So like there's some level of like Monte Carlo simulation kind of going on that I don't think really makes sense to represent as like, I'm just going to overestimate my expenses and underestimate my income. Like, I think there's probably some level of like probability and statistics that you could put into it and say like, based on a confidence interval of, and actually coming back to the not stable income, you could say I've got a confidence interval of like, I'm like 95% certain that I'm going to make $1,000 a month. And I'm like 60% certain that I'm going to be able to make twice that in a month. Like you can use that probability and statistics, and they essentially have a range. You'll have a minimum and a maximum, and like if all of your expenses end up being the maximum that you're expecting and your income ends up being the lowest that you're expecting, like that's going to put you at a certain place. So those are the things that I'm kind of thinking about, as far as like, I want to sort of hammer out the last usability parts of what I've got here, which is this planning and then the cash flow. But next step, next features, those are the things that I'm kind of thinking about. Big brain math. That's funny. I mean, I'm lucky to have had classes on it, and sort of have a brain for it. But on the flip side, like, this is very purely pretty much tailwind. And I think you definitely have more of an eye for design than I do. So everybody has their own strengths, right? So like I know I can do that math, and I've got books of references that can help me do that math if I forget how to do it. It's just time and effort, time, effort, and I can't just work on the functionality and the math because nobody's going to use it. It also needs to look nice and have a good onboarding experience and all that too. So you know how that goes. You can't just you play to your strengths, but an app doesn't work if it's heavily weighted in one strength. So, well, I appreciated the chat. I think we've got this actually working again. Didn't get too much writing done, but is that still not working? What if there's like a bad cache kind of thing too? Because it definitely didn't run again. Did I close nullify? I think we'll rerun it without the cache. I wonder if it's just a bad cache. Something with that parcel upgrade. I think I did the right one. Yep. We'll let that rerun. I think we'll let that rerun, and hopefully that fixes it. We'll merge that in, and that might be it for today. I'll probably, now that I've sort of gotten this stream schedule, I've been going every week for a little bit. I'll probably start doing more of this. I did a bunch of streaming on it last year, but life got in the way, and I wasn't able to continue. As far as next steps go, though, I think it's going to be a bunch of like making sure this onboarding and whatnot is better and fleshing out this planning a little bit. We've got tests, we've got things set up in Cypress. Those I might want to switch those around a little bit. But like the forms work and we can fill stuff out and it gets added to here. But I think I need to work on the UI and the onboarding experience. This doesn't work though. I need to fix this. You had noticed that in your stream, Manny, the other day. It is supposed to, when you click on it, do the filter thing, but it's not updating the colors, which ends up being very confusing. So like paycheck should show, it is hiding the paycheck, I think is what's going on there. But it's definitely not updating the colors, so. I had moved, there's the output here that shows the list of expenses. I still do want to show some of that here. I had just moved it. But I also want to do T3. There is one of these, I think is, yeah. I want to do something like this, where income comes in and it's sort of like a river. As you gain income, it makes the river bigger. As you do expenses, it makes the river smaller and it like splits off. Sankey diagram, that's the word. That's not a great one, at least for what I'm thinking about. I don't see any others here though. I mean, maybe a little bit. They do. I definitely appreciate all their examples. I'm in the Slack that was started for it too. That's got a lot of they definitely don't keep up with it very well, but the stuff that comes out of what everybody's working on is really neat. I guess that's really the best one. Yeah, so I think something like this. Another graph that runs along here, and it's showing this a similar thing to your accounts going up and down, but it's representing this planning, and that will sort of be the connection between these two, I think. So like the first stage is comparing your yeah, I definitely broke that. I think I broke that when I moved that. But like let's go back to before I clicked on it. The first stage is sort of like comparing your income versus your expenses. And then the next step is thinking about that over time. And as you think about it over time, this starts to become this kind of graph where you've got your inflows and your outflows. And as you've developed that idea, then it morphs into what is effectively a cash flow analysis. And then you can start thinking about, well, I need to make sure that I have enough money in the account to be able to cover the expenses that are coming out of it, which is essentially what you're doing here. It's just you're also thinking about it in terms of like, I need to make sure that my automatic transfers are going to be coming in and providing enough money to cover the expenses that are going out. And as you develop on this, I think I just don't have a tab for it. Had a, well, assuming I can spell independent. May I remember it too. Wow, okay. Financial. Okay, apparently I can't spell nor get the right page name right. Oh, no dash. Here you go. This had also been on a separate page too, but I moved it to its own page. So like, as you think about, so you sort of go from this planning snapshot to thinking about it over time, which leads into the Sankey diagram, and then eventually into the cash flow analysis. But then once you're starting to progress past the cash flow analysis, then you're starting to think about the FI stuff. And like, if I have enough money at X, like it's not necessarily like I want to have enough money by the time I retire. It starts to become a, if I'm saving at this rate, can I consider taking a sabbatical? Like that can also be part of the conversation. It doesn't necessarily need to be a retire early. Or can I like switch to doing part-time? So like it's, I think of it as sort of like a progression. You go from thinking about, like doing YNAB is probably not a bad first step, but going from there, you want to start thinking about your future. And then, you know, there's sort of like a slow progression or progression up, building up to where you can start having these more advanced ideas about planning 5, 10, 20, 30 years in the future. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. And it's rolling back around to your thought of user testing. I've talked to a lot of people about it, and I've shown people this. I haven't actually done like a true user test, I wouldn't say. But I've given a bunch of people my spreadsheets. I've talked to them over the years about it, and just all the reading and whatnot. So that's sort of where all these ideas have come from, is just reading and talking to people and building it up. So it's been more of the like, whatever comes before the user testing. I don't remember what that's called now. It's Friday. It's Friday. Brains, I tell ya. So I think that's sort of where I want to take things here. Yeah, informal testing is probably the best way to say it. But these are all like, they're not off the wall concepts. I mean, cash flow analyses are, you know, it's a pretty standard accounting thing. So like, there's obviously value there. Others, they wouldn't be doing them in corporations. So like, it's not like off the wall ideas. It's just, I feel like it's just stuff that hasn't been well applied to personal finance. Like that's probably why I've been less concerned about trying to like do true user testing up front, I guess. Like I know these ideas and things are good. It's just it's the communication that how best to communicate it is the obstacle that needs to be overcome. All right, let's finish running. Please, oh please, work. What in the bloody? What the heck? That's wild. So I guess we're gonna have to keep poking on that. Because it's definitely working locally. But I had for a brief minute, I had the same issue. So there's got to be some sort of weird cache stuff going on. Weird. All right, well. No. So this is actually completely front end right now. As far as data, I mean, it's not doing any requests or anything. There's literally, it's all front end. So like, that's why if you go to the one of these examples, like you refresh the page and it goes back. And literally the only way that we're doing data right now is a JSON object. So you can download your data, which is literally just downloading a JSON file. So I mean, eventually it probably will make sense to look up databases or something. But I think there's importance in having, especially for financial stuff, the own your own data. I definitely want to enable that as a priority. It does make this whole like it being open source easier. If I don't need to worry about running a backend, that's I mean, theoretically you could like make it easy for somebody to hook up their own backend. Like fill in a URL, and that's what we're gonna hit for our data. Is potentially a future. Yep. Yeah. Import export just as a spreadsheet or Google Drive or something. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much just a spreadsheet. So yeah, I don't know. Well, I think I need to get going back to work here. I thought we had this figured out. I thought it was just a parcel upgrade issue, but clearly that is not the issue. And we did a deploy without the cache. I don't know. I mean, I think it makes sense to do this anyways. Like, I'm fine with this. So I think I'm just gonna merge it in. Then we'll just keep on poking on it, I guess. Oh, I was gonna add this. That was what I was gonna do. All right, I think I'll do that off stream though. I don't know if there's actually anybody streaming right now. Pretty small raid, but do we got anybody going? Nobody that I know. All right, well. Anthony from Kidder. I have not. The Twitch username? Yeah. I'm down for it. give them a follow. All right. Ta-da! All right. Go ahead and rate them. Cool. Thank you, Manny, for the suggestion. Yeah, nice. All right. Thanks for stopping by, Manny. We will have to talk. But I will see you next week, and maybe I'll see you in your streamer chat with you, Manny. Thanks for stopping by.